A message from the book Living and Loving by Joanna de Angelis. Silent attitude. A popular proverb says, silence gives consent, but this is not always so. Silence is more than mere compliance. Some people consent because they fear conflict. Others consent to avoid fruitless arguments or to safeguard personal interests. There is a dynamic type of silence, though. It is wisdom that keeps silent when foolish chatter and violent persons yell. Wise people will speak only when asked. Their words clarify and illuminate. Wisdom implies self-balance and discipline. It reveals self-control of one's emotions. We must free ourselves from all base passions because they degrade and consume and torture. Many people talk about thinking. Careless and thoughtless talking raise conflicts, throws people against each other, and disturbs the community. Silence, however, should not turn into obstinate sulkiness, indifference, or contempt. We advise silence only to avoid idle discussions, fruitless debates, or needless self-defense. To react through hot argument is rather easy, but to listen patiently to aggressions and defamation, ask for a noble stoic behavior, an attitude that benefits both yourself and your opponent, spreading peace around you. Forget the evil done to you and do whatever good you can. Your actions will speak for you. If people do not respect you, you will not agree with them anyway. Do not let yourself be disturbed by affront. It usually comes from irresponsible persons who ignore their own limitations. Time is too precious to be wasted on trifles. Praise or approval will not make you a better person. Likewise, insult, abuse, or malice will not lessen your virtues. Attend to your duties and wait patiently. Keep in mind that the allotment time is the same for everyone, but each person uses it differently.
Dear God, with great happiness in our hearts, we are here one more time together for the study of the Spirit's book. Please help us to give the best we can, to learn, to discuss, to reflect, and to make the changes in our life that we already can, so be it.
Hello everyone, as we carry on with our studies, as mentioned last week, we finished the first round of the study of the Spirit's book in English, and from today onwards we carry on a new format of a study, which still is based on Spiritism, based on the 5 fundamental books of Spiritism, being the Spirit's book, the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Medium's book, Genesis and Hell and Heaven. And we sometimes may refer to Emmanuel or the books of the Spirit Andrea Luis or Joanna de Angelis. We will go through time presenting different slots or different focuses specifically on different models. But today we start with what is Spiritism. Our aim in studying Spiritism, inspiring life, has the purpose to bring the consoling, hopeful, and universal message of Spiritism to the hearts of English speakers, ourselves and all of those who may be benefiting from it, because you know that Spiritism is the teachings of Jesus, which is bringing the hope and consolations for all humanity. And so it's our humble little bit that we can also cooperate. So as mentioned, we start understanding in the first module, what is Spiritism? which is important for us to go through and also to remind and also to help those who in spirit are with us also studying. This answer comes from the book What is Spiritism by Allan Kardec. Allan Kardec was the codifier of Spiritism. We know that he was French, was the greatest educator and philosopher who have codified the teachings of the superior spirits, who brought the teachings from Jesus, who is bringing the words of God to humankind. So when we start first, what is Spiritism? Then we learn in the book What is Spiritism, saying Spiritism is simultaneously a science of observation and a philosophical doctrine. As a practical science, it consists in the relations that can be established with the spirits. As a philosophy, it entails all the moral consequences that result from such relations. So now if you were to go through, and again, as it is an interactive study, how do we understand, how could we reframe it in our own words, which could also help other spirits who may be with us to learn a bit? How would we reframe it? Why is Allan Kardec saying that Spiritism is simultaneously a science and a philosophy? Why is that? Any idea? What is Spiritism? Simultaneously a science of observation and a philosophical doctrine.
Maybe a philosophical doctrine because he asked a lot of questions. He raised a lot of questions about life and about what are our objectives in here. And so it's a kind of philosophical doctrine, I would think. And maybe a science because he looked through facts, through mediumship phenomena, and he puts all into the doctrine, and perhaps this all these facts with the mediumship, it's all together. So that's why I'm interested.
Okay. What differs the Spiritist science from the human science? Is there any difference? Yes or no? Spiritism talks about what? Science. About the divine science. Yes? Is that making sense? Which differs from the human science, which is in evolution. Correct? The divine science embraces the human science. Gradually, we'll reach a higher understanding about the divine science. And then it says here, as a philosophy, it entails all the moral consequences that result from such relations. What do we understand? Entails all the moral consequences of the aspect of science and philosophy within Spiritism. How do we understand that? What are the moral consequences of the Spiritist science or the Spiritist philosophy? Any idea?
I believe that the moral consequences would be if I had a life, for example, that I learned the virtues, I learned patience, I learned all these thoughts, these teachings that Jesus told us, I will have a certain consequence for that. So there's a lot of material and studies that prove that it depends on the life we have when we have this body, physical body, that will have certain consequences.
So our ways of being, the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we act, that brings consequences in our lives as an ongoing process, yes? Not only on this physical material level, but also beyond it. And then if you carry on, Emmanuel says in the book of Consolador, we can take Spiritism symbolized as a triangle of spiritual forces. Science and philosophy binds its symbolic figure to earth, but religion is the divine angle that links it to heaven. How is that coming to us? We know that Spiritism has a triple aspect, yeah, which is scientific, philosophical, and religion. So how could we reframe this here? There is not one aspect isolated. They are all interconnected. Is that making sense? Yes? And then he says, but religion is the divine angle that links it to heaven. What comes to our minds here? And why is Emmanuel saying that the science and philosophy aspect, or scientific and philosophical aspect of Spiritism, in a symbolic way, leaves us more connected to earth, or refers more on earth here? Why is that? Any idea? What do we think about it? Scientific is more based on investigation. Philosophy is telling us about our kind of living. Why is he saying religion is the divine angle that links us to heaven? Why is that about?
That's the practical side, I would say. It's the believing all those values that we learn is that will connect us to God. So that's the religious part.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so is the religion not in a sense of a religion that we have on earth, but religion within the triple aspect of Spiritism refers much more in relation to religiosity or spirituality or sentiments. Okay? And then we carry on with the one when he says, I will not read it. Would you like to read it for us, please?
With scientific and philosophical aspects, Spiritism will always be a noble field of human investigations, like other collective movements of an intellectual nature, aimed at the betterment of humanity. In the religious aspect, however, rests his divine greatness, as it constitutes the restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ, establishing the definitive renewal of mankind for the greatness of their immense spiritual future.
Okay, so what do we learn now here by the words of the spiritual benefactor Emmanuel? What comes to our minds? What do we understand when he says, from the scientific and philosophical aspect, Spiritism will always be a noble field of human investigation? What is Emmanuel referring here? Any idea? What do we think about? What comes to our minds? Spiritism will always be a noble field of human investigation, like other collective movements of an intellectual nature.
I think because all the aspects that when we analyze the facts, it contains also like social, anthropological, a lot of aspects for the humankind. So it's a noble field of scientific. I would say, and this is a great value for the human.
Because he is referring to the human being itself, who is an immortal spirit, although human science is not there yet, but it's close to. But even if they are analyzing on a human level, it's still the materialistic science is moving forward and understanding more. Great investigation, because it's always helping in the developing of science, in the developing of philosophy, and gradually we are coming closer to the divine science, which is exactly what Spiritism is presenting here, which is helping us to look within us beyond the physicality, beyond our physical body, but as immortal beings. And then it carries on, in the religion aspect, however, rests his divine greatness, as it constitutes the restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ, establishing the definite renewal of mankind for the greatness of their immense spiritual future. What comes to our minds here?
Is it not simply to teach people the reality that we're eternal beings and that we've been given a Bible which actually provides his Ten Commandments, Jesus' teachings? And when people realise that they are eternal spirits, and when the physical body dies, the spirit goes back to your natural home, the spirit body, and that you've got to be a better person, you've got to learn a lot about the love of God, the teachings of Jesus, and then see your own weakness, all of us, to learn to love each other spiritually, and to understand that we can go by the teachings, look at Moses' Ten Commandments, Gospel of Jesus, which is in the Gospel called Spiritism. And that all the Spiritism is about is bringing it up to date to understand these realities. And perhaps we can all learn.
I think
whenever you read anything in Spiritism, you say, oh, that's interesting. Some of it you may know from scripture lessons and other things, but that gives you more reality, that gives you more truth.
Yes.
And I think it's just a wonderful thing. But for me, when you read these things out, they say what they mean. That's what it means. It's very difficult to over-explain it, because it's there in those words. For me, that means exactly what it says.
Okay. And how could we expand a bit more when they say here, renewal of mankind for the greatness of their immense spiritual future?
They have futures in the spirit.
So, the spiritual world, what else? Immense spiritual future. Are we hearing between lines about the immortality of the soul? That our lives continues well beyond one physical existence? That we as immortal beings, as you said, we continue to evolve and we have this immense spiritual future ahead of us as divine beings, essentially as we all are. We are evolving, are progressing, are renewing, are learning constantly. And here we are told by this benefactor Emmanuel, the gospel, restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ. What do we understand by that? The religion aspect that Emmanuel is making a link with that, isn't it? How do we understand it? As it constitutes the restoration of the gospel of Jesus. What comes to our minds? What is the essence of the gospel according to Spiritism? What is the essence?
The laws of God.
I think the essence is referring, when we learn the laws of God, the essence of the gospel is love. And this is what we are here, let's say, reflecting on the religion aspect of Spiritism, which is helping humanity, which we all are part of, to gradually, as we learn more, to get united through love that comes from God. Is that making sense? And then we carry on in the Medium's book, Spiritism that touches on the most serious questions of philosophy in all sectors of the social order, which embraces both the physical and the moral aspect of each individual, is in itself a whole science, a whole philosophy, which cannot be learned in just a few hours. So what do we learn here now in relation to what is Spiritism? Within the Medium's book, what is Allan Kardec helping us here? How could we reframe it? Can Spiritism be learned in a couple of seconds, in a couple of hours, in a couple of meetings?
It takes a long time to sink in when you're starting.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been introduced to it for the first time.
How long does it take for us to study Spiritism?
Whole life.
You mean one?
Maybe existence.
Yes, I would say, or all existence, because Spiritism is referring in the triple aspects, scientific, philosophical, and religion, is bringing to humanity God's laws. And all of us are learning in studies, and we are very on the beginning. So therefore, there is much more that we don't know than what we do know. This is why Allan Kardec pointed out in the Medium's book that it cannot be learned in a couple of hours. That is an ongoing process, not only for this existence, but for many, many existences, because we still are learning in the planet Earth, which is a planet of trials and expiations. Therefore, our understanding is still in this deep, deep knowledge is still quite peripheral. But gradually, as incarnates or as disincarnates, we carry on learning and building on our knowledge. Is that making sense? And then Spiritism is philosophy because it analyzes divine creation, explaining the reason God created man. His origin and destination reflects on the causes of human happiness and unhappiness. How do we understand that? How could we reframe it? Why are the reasons that God created us?
Created us so we could evolve, we could learn better things and become better.
Okay, in order to progress, in order to learn His laws, that we already bring things or creation as simple and ignorant as we have been created. His origin, which is our origin? Which is our origin?
We are created simple and ignorant. Is that
Is our origin spiritual? And our destination is going back to the spiritual world, because we have been created by God, simple and ignorant, not as physical beings, but as spiritual beings, correct? Then through different existences, we adopt a new physical body, and then reflects on the causes of human happiness and unhappiness. What are the causes of human happiness and unhappiness?
our choices? So if we choose to have not positive thoughts or not positive feelings through acts and speak as well, we have some consequences. So we can be happy if we have better choices.
Okay. Have we been created by God in order to be happy or unhappy?
Happy.
Happy. Are we happy all the time? We see so many hospitals on earth. I think it is a signal, yes? But why are we unhappy if we have been created by God in order to be happy?
The first reflection we need to make is what we understand by happiness. Because we may be going through turmoils and be in hospitals and yet still be at peace and still be happy. But if our notion of happiness is always joy and smiling and laughing and upbeat, then no, we're not always like that, because it's a state of spirit that the world of trials and expiation doesn't permit. Because we are influenced by each other, one another. We need one another to be able to sustain each other. So that's why we're not happy on this earth in that state. But happiness, constant happiness, is possible if we are continuously working on improving ourselves, if we're continuously thinking and reflecting on our spiritual evolution, continuously reminding ourselves that we're immortal spirits and not the body, the physical body. Then yeah, we can be continuously happy. We just choose not to. We choose to become distracted because of our egos and our pride. But it's definitely possible. If that's what God's purpose for us, then it is possible. So, yeah. Even on Earth, because Earth is a planet, is one of the functions of our Father, let's put it like that. So it's not the planet Earth that is the cause of our unhappiness. Because we are here as a school in order to learn, allowed by the love and mercy of God. So therefore it's not the planet, it's the way that we relate with us in relation to whatever is available on the planet.
Yeah, we have a free will thinking mind.
Yes.
And it's up to us how we react to any situation. And up to us what we learn from that as individuals. Some people I know outside the room would laugh at this. That's their free will, that's their choice.
Yes.
That is what makes us happy on earth, is our own personal thoughts, because we're responsible for what we think and how we react to things.
Yes, and I guess yes, we also are beings in evolution. Perhaps we also went through a phase that we laughed about what we are studying now. Because why do we do that? Through our ignorance when we look back, yes? And we surely came from different belief systems that also could be blockage points for us to understand on a deeper level. But that is part how we grow, even if we laugh in some moments, but sooner or later, as we all are under the law of love, which is the law of progress that comes from God, we will all review our ways of thinking. And also happiness is quite something very personal. We know that real happiness is not possible on earth as we egoistically or immaturely think about. But when we allow our minds and hearts to follow God's guidance, then we can even be happy when we go through an illness, because we have different understanding. We can be happy spiritually, not in a frivolous way, Happiness means a state of mind when we choose to accommodate our mind in relation to God's mind, despite of whatever experience we may choose to go through in order to learn. Does that make sense? And then questions such as where we came from, what do we do in this world, where we will go after death, are fully answered by Spiritism. If we start with the first, where we came from, all of us who are incarnated on earth, from the spiritual world, as we are spiritual beings, we are not physical beings. We came through a planning which has been very well organized by our benefactors, and here we are on the planet Earth as a school in order to learn, to redo lessons or to learn new ones. What do we do on Earth is to evolve. It's not just to get money from, although we can also work for that level, but it's to evolve spiritually, to dematerialize ourselves, to relate with the material aspects with a different viewpoint from a different angle, which we perhaps haven't done, to use the material aspects in a more, let's say, wiser way. And where will we go after death? What is death for us in Spiritism? Do we die?
It's only death in the physical body.
Okay.
The real us, the spirit and the mind, go back to spirit.
Okay.
Then the body goes.
Yeah. Okay. Who else would define death? Do we die?
Then we have the sensation of the physical body as a part of the law of destruction. The spirit in itself is eternal. We're constantly coming and going from different spheres, different planets. But if I can I have a look at the part where it says that all of this are fully answered by Spiritism, because those words can be really distorted. Because Spiritism does answer all the questions. We do, but it's not understood by all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily that it's going to provide all the answers in an almost self-centered sort of way. We have the answers to everything. No, we found a way of decodifying the laws of God in a way that our minds and our hearts and our souls are able to progress with our difficulties, because we understand concepts, and like you said before, it takes years and progress to really fully take in these concepts. It isn't something that we can intellectualize about. We don't fully give the answers in Spiritism. We give the tools for us to be able to seek for the answers internally. We teach ourselves how to bring out, because we have the divine laws within us. So having those divine laws within us and being able to decodify them and put them into words. Okay, well, my body is temporary. I know that for a fact because I'm going to die one day, but my soul is going to continue. How do I know that for a fact? Because there's interaction with the other world. Okay, well, that makes sense in my mind, but in my heart, when I go through difficulties, does that still make sense? So it doesn't seem like it's the full answer, but it takes time. This is a progress. So just that little part fully answered by Spiritism, in the sense that it's fully answered in the tools that Spiritism provides us to seek for the answers inside.
Yes, it's fully answered because Spiritism is the teachings of the Enlightened Spirits who bring the good news from Jesus, who bring the good word from God. So it's fully answered, but it's not fully comprehended by each individual, each of us. Sometimes we can be even within Spiritism, and we may not comprehend the deep sense of it. It doesn't mean that it's not there. And remember, when we say fully answered, in this stage where we find ourselves. Because as more as we evolve in different planets, we will have different understandings. But for us here, I would say the spirits give the information, but it's not fully comprehended, because we need to learn to put the effort in to think for ourselves. Because in reality, full answer by Spiritism, if it's God's law as was referred, are they not already within ourselves? We all bring God's laws within, but it doesn't mean that we have all the same ability to reflect about them. If we have all the same ability to accept it in the same level, if you have all the same ability to interact with them, that is different as we evolve and grow. Yeah? Okay. And then Spiritism is a philosophy that teaches self-knowledge as an indispensable tool for the intellectual moral evolution of the spirit, having a profound potential to transform the world from the individual. How do we understand that Spiritism? In which way Spiritism as a philosophy teaches self-knowledge?
Because it helps us
ourselves, to understand our feelings, where they come from past experiences, because we may not have done something in this life that explains what we live in or how we're feeling. Like when we meet someone we never met before, and we have a certain knowledge of that person, we don't know where it comes from. But when we study Spiritism, then we understand they had lived together and experienced something, and that is where those feelings come from.
Mm-hmm. Buddha goes super right in saying that through the philosophy of Spiritism helps us to learn who we are, and as more as we learn who we are, is that part of self-knowledge, that we are immortal beings, that we are spirits, and when they say an indispensable tool for the intellectual moral evolution, how do we understand that? Indispensable tool for the intellectual moral evolution of the spirit.
Having a profound potential to transform the world from the individual. So I mean, when we look at the world in sociological studies, they have different schools of thoughts, and some schools of thought will say, well, actually, there's the government that needs to change so that we can have a progress. And then other schools of thought are going to say, well, actually, no, some masses need to get together and make that change, and then everything is going to be better. Well, within Spiritism, we understand that we are positive selves in society if we choose to be, and we can make that change ourselves. I really enjoyed the thought of one of the Spiritists from Monte Sorority came over, and he was saying, you know, there's so many Christians in the world. There's the census says that I don't remember the number of Christians in the world, but if there really were that many Christians in the world, we wouldn't have all the issues that we have now. Mm-hmm. Because to be a real Christian, to really learn, just one cell, we look at Gandhi, the movements we can make, just ourselves. We don't need money, we don't need status, we don't need anything, we simply need to potentialize ourselves. So what Spiritism is, the tool, the key tool that it's doing is teaching the individual to potentialize themselves and make a better world around where they are. And how big that's going to expand is going to depend on the spiritual mentors, on the programming, on whether we have the merit to be that source of light. Sometimes our source of light needs to be small, and that's we're just in the home, or we're just in the workplace, or maybe it's just that way, and we need to be okay with that. But the point is to potentialize from within as an individual before we start pointing out and saying this is how the mass should be. Which is argued a lot in society. There's something where we clash a little bit with materialism, but it's definitely a powerful and indispensable tool for an intellectual and moral evolution.
Very powerful to stimulating each individual, each one of us as beings of God, let's say, we came back, even if our task or plan is in a family, and to really potentialize ourselves within that, we still are serving God, we still are helping to change the paradigms on earth. We also need to focus where we are placed so that we can help. Doesn't matter how much important that we are all moving forward. Because really for us in Spiritism, the change will not come from outside. If we sit and wait that it comes outside, we probably are in a lazy state of mind for centuries. Because really God, Jesus sent us, helping us to understand that we have responsibility within ourselves and our brothers and sisters in humanity where we are. Then, within the Gospel according to Spiritism, the religious aspect will also address the moral consequences of human behavior, defined by the use of free will and governed by the law of cause and effect, to which all individuals are subject. Spiritist moral values makes people good beings, knowing how to distinguish good from evil and choose the first, since the true good person is who fulfills the law of justice and love and charity in its highest purity. What do we understand here?
So the religious aspect, sorry, somebody else wants to talk, we can, but it's just, the religious aspect is part of the codification. So the Gospel according to Spiritism, that study of the Gospel according to Spiritism is one of the parts, because we've got the divisions of different aspects that we focus on. And the moral aspect is the religious aspect, where in the Gospel we're going to learn how to be good beings. So we're going to start reflecting on loving our enemies. We're going to start reflecting on the true nature of charity. We're going to start reflecting on what it is exactly to love what it is exactly to interact with the outside world. So that's where we become better, because when we read those passages of these workers of Christ who have put these messages for us, and we bring it to us in our day-to-day living, how to exercise patience when they talk about it, how to exercise charity, what does that really, really mean? It's a consequence. It's not that it's just the objective, it's the consequence of becoming better people, if it really sinks in.
Yes, would I be right in saying that the philosophy and the religious aspect of spiritism both focus somewhere on let's say, the moral consequences, while the philosophical aspect is more question who we are. And then we depart from that understanding that we are immortal beings, we are all children of God, and then we move on the religious aspect, which is the moral aspect, which is the sentiment, emotional. Then we have better answers. Why are we asked to learn to love each other? Because we are all children of God and brothers and sisters in humanity. Why is so important to learn to forgive for ourselves? Because we are through, let's say, the first part, the philosophy, is more on a theoretical level, the way that it comes to me, and the religion part is more on the practical level to live according to that. And in that way, we are building the new belief systems, the new ways of being, and we progress and also help others to progress with us.
It's beautiful as well.
I'm just going to simply say that it brings up this free will, that we've got our own free will thinking mind, and then it goes on to say about the law of cause and effect, which basically means what you do to others will be done to you.
Precisely.
And that's why it pays the individual to be good to people, not to be nasty, not to be arrogant, not to treat them like a piece of dirt, to be nice to them, and to help them where you can. Because if you're making someone else's life difficult, you're making it tough for them. Just, people are like this when they start wars and all this sort of stuff. They don't realise what they are doing to others.
Yes, that is very important, free will. Who else wants to comment here? What do we understand about free will, apart from what Jack said? What is free
We
will?
have a free will thinking mind, and when we act from that, isn't it? Someone who wants to come and hit someone, they can create that. They make their own decision to do things like that. Someone who's being nice, sees someone's fall down and want to help them up. And someone falls down in the street.
Did God give us the faculty of freedom since our creation? No. Who else? I repeat again. Did God give us the faculty of freedom since our creation? Yes or no?
Yes, we did, but limited depending on our stage of evolution. So our freedom is limited by instinct. The minute we can overcome instinct and work on our intellect, then our free will expands a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. We know that the pure spirits have no limit. Their free will is limitless, but their will is to do the will of God. That's why they have that limitless will. So, and when we look at, and if I could go back into what I wanted to mention before, the nuances of the way that religion interacts with philosophy and science is at the end of the gospel, we've got the group of prayers. So, and then we have these collections of prayers, and we know how powerful these prayers are. But why are they powerful? Just saying these prayers, how are they powerful? What does that mean to say words and then they mean something? Why are words so powerful? And then we go into the science of that, and we look at that and to potentialize ourselves in that way. And that's so beautiful, to be able to interact that way and put it all together and potentialize ourselves with these studies.
Yes, this is why Spiritism is neither only science, neither only philosophy, neither only religion, but Spiritism is this triple aspect where it's scientific, philosophical, and religion, and they are all interconnected. But I go back again. Have we been created with free will by God? The faculty of freedom? Yes, as Danusa said. But we have been given the faculty of freedom in seed. We now, using the free will, we learn to develop it. Learning to develop responsibility, that we develop the faculty of freedom. Is that making sense? So why here then the use of free will governed by the law of cause and effect? As more as we understand that we have been, since our creation, receiving from God the faculty of freedom or the faculty of free will. Now we think about our movements because we know in this stage of evolution where we are, whatever we do comes back to us, either good things or not, as learners as we are. And in that way, we still are in a stage as humanity, when I say we, that we still are struggling in relation to discipline, isn't it? Perhaps not us here, but people outside. And that tells us something about where we are in terms of our free will. Because as more as we learn, as Emmanuel teaches us, that discipline anticipates spontaneity. So as more as we discipline ourselves within the natural laws that we bring with us, we naturally, freely choose to do the right thing, naturally choose to do the good, naturally choose to become better. Is that making sense? Any things that we have here? What do we understand the law of justice? Can we have different understanding on earth in relation to the law of justice?
The law of justice isn't on its own, it's not a single law.
Mm-hmm.
The law of justice is the law of justice, love and charity. Justice on its own in the state where we are is not true to its meaning, justice. It's not possible without love and charity. We can't be just if we're not loving, if we're not charitable.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is also this justice here related to free will? Cause and effect? When we look at it within that? Because here we are not referring to justice according to human viewpoint, yes? We are referring to justice, as we said, in more a spiritual perspective, justice meaning the consequences of our initiatives. The consequences in this existence or not. And the justice of God is not the justice how we sometimes want things or experiences to be. And God's justice is based on what? Then we again go back in relation to the law of cause and effect, which leads us back to the use of free will. Is that making sense? So always comes back to us. It is religion because Spiritism is a religion because it has the gift of uniting people in an ideal of brotherhood, or as recommended by Jesus, thus allowing each individual to meet their own Creator, love one another. What comes to ourselves when we read that part? Is that what we learned, that we unite everyone one day? Yes or no? Uniting people in an ideal of brotherhood, what comes to our minds?
So what we're doing here, we're uniting the ideal of brotherhood, meaning we're working towards having a unity of understanding, of wording, of purpose. So that unites us. That's how I understand it. So that aspect of religion.
It helps us to live in peace with each other, even though we may have different views and understandings. But we come to a point that we can cohabit with one that has different understanding or comes from a different point of view, but it's still coming within the same meaning. What we're living for, what we're doing, towards what we're going, it's the same, although it may be understood in a different way or used in different words.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't mean like everybody's going to be Spiritist.
Mm-hmm.
It means everyone is going to live the same values.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to share the same understanding of life and respect.
Mm-hmm.
Be charitable and be loving. It doesn't mean that everyone is going to go to the same studies or come to the same to study Spiritism.
Okay.
It may come from a different
Okay.
studies, but you join us in the point that we have the same view about the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I like to talk about this book because if we remember the study of the Spirits book at the end, St. Augustine is talking about the diversion of thoughts and how that's going to dissipate as much as we start to evolve. We'll start seeing that the same notions are not going to have a conflict in there. But here, when we look at what is Spiritism, and here it's saying Spiritism is a religion because of uniting individuals, Then here we're specifically talking about Spiritists uniting as individuals, becoming the positive selves, and then within that we're able to, with our example, expand that to the outside world that doesn't believe or think as we do. So it's interesting how there's still that diversion of understanding the same text. It's hopefully going to dissipate soon.
Yes, and I think in my way, because it says in the end exactly precisely what Jesus says, the main message: love one another. And then it goes on, ideal of brotherhood. Well, we can ask us on earth, how do I understand brotherhood in my current state of evolution? I could see it from my family, biological family, but this is not what the Spiritism is teaching us. He is referring the religion in a sense that we are all brothers and sisters as children of God. And sooner or later, as we individually learn to love ourselves and learn others, it goes beyond our biological family. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond cultures. It goes beyond religions. We will naturally, as we expand within, accept people as they are. And what is love one another? The message that comes from God. And that is what sooner or later will unite all humanity. It's not that we all become a spiritist. We all will learn the natural laws. And we will choose to move and to behave and to be accordingly. Anybody else? A profound study in the Medius book, we are told, will teach that Spiritism rests upon the fundamental foundations of religion and respects all beliefs. That one of its effects is to instill religious feelings in those who do not have them, to strengthen them in those who have them vacillating. What do we learn here from the Medius book? Does Spiritism impose anything to anyone? No. So what do we understand here? How is that coming to us currently? So first, we do respect everyone. We don't think that we are better because we are Spiritists, because we are all children of God, beings from different spiritual pathways. That instills religious feelings in those who do not have them. What do we mean by that? Religious feelings, what is that?
Faith.
Faith, okay. What else? In those who don't have them, if we start to study, we may also realize that perhaps we are at the beginning, and then no matter, because I also started somewhere at the beginning, all of us, and to strengthen them in those who have them vacillating. How could we have our spiritual religious feeling vacillating? In which way could we notice that?
Many doubts.
I have many doubts. In which way? Because depending how we look at it, the doubts are positive. I don't know where you are.
No.
When I'm hooked,
I think those
when I'm in a circle, yes.
meaning of life, on the meaning of love, on that it is possible, on the way that evolution is a work I have to do with an individual self.
Could also be if I, as a mortal being, I believe in a spirituality, I believe in a spiritism, and suddenly something happened in my life, such as I lose a dear one. And if I'm not strong in my faith, could I be vacillating these moments? Yes. If I lose my job suddenly, and that was very important, and if my faith is really not strong, based in God, in God's laws, then I could also be vacillating. Any other example?
A disease.
A disease, if I'm feeling, let's say, very healthy, and suddenly my health changes, because we don't have control of our lives. Things can happen in any moment that changes our situations. And if you're not prepared spiritually, then we can vacillate and can even doubt about God. Where is God? A lot of people say that. Where is God that leaves me in this situation? And we always say God is always in the same place. There he is. But yes. Anybody else? In the Gospel according to Spiritism, Dennis, would you like to read it for us, please?
Spiritism gives actual form to what Jesus taught about the promised consoler. Further, it reminds us to observe God's laws and to find comfort in the faith and hope of a better future.
Do we understand this now? What do you understand about the promised console? What is that about? It reminds us to observe God's laws and to find comfort in the faith and hope of a better future. How do we understand comfort in the faith and hope in a better future? What is the gospel trying to teach us in relation to Spiritism?
I think that the most thing is that it's not, the life not end when we die, and even you have other possibilities to evolve, not just one life.
Mm-hmm. One existence, yes?
Yes.
We have different existences, yes?
And everyone will go and evolve.
All of us will evolve. That is very, let's say, hopeful for all of us. We all will progress in the future. We all will understand the natural God's laws that, for instance, perhaps in one stage in our evolution, we may have been killing others. Now we will understand that no one kills anyone because we are all spirits and not a physical body. We carry on alive, and we all are invited to carry on learning to love ourselves and respecting others. And also what it means, better hope in the future, means whatever happens in our existences that we go through, we will be more prepared in not complain too much. Because whatever hardship we go through on earth as learners, we know that once we free ourselves from the physical body, later on we will be in a better condition. We have a greater understanding the meaning of our experiences that we go through. Then we improve more resignation, we improve more obedience to God. In order for us to follow God's laws, surely we need to develop obedience, isn't it? Otherwise we keep on doing what we want. Is that right? What is Spiritism? They are a set of principles and rules concerning the conduct of individuals, not only with their self, but in their relations with God and with their fellow beings. Love one another, or love yourself as you love God and your brothers and sisters in humanity. They are part of God's natural laws, which are written in our conscience, and as we sometimes forget them, we must constantly be reminded. How do we understand that? We all agree that God's laws are written in our conscience, yeah? And now, what do we understand? And sometimes forgot them. Have we forget God's laws? No? We didn't.
We think we did, but if you look inside yourself and you can ask yourself what I'm doing is right or wrong, and you can have answers. Don't have to anyone tell you what's right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else? Have we as immortal beings forgotten God's laws? Yes?
Yeah, because we may be so deepened into our egoism and our self-pride that we forget God completely. Once we are here incarnated, we may deepen ourselves into the material world and choose to forget, as we can choose to forget other things throughout this life, this time. We choose to forget about God because that gives us the space not to be responsible, not to follow the laws, and to think that we can somehow do whatever we want.
Do whatever we want, and that's okay, isn't it? Through our ego state of mind. And we know that God's law doesn't work in that way. So yes, I would say we learn in one of the questions in the Spirit's book that we have forgotten God's laws, or sometimes we ignore them. We ignore them because if we would follow them, if we would accept them and follow, we need to change ourselves. We need to work on our personal interests, we need to work on our pride, and we need to work on our selfishness. Is that what it is? Yes? So now this is why we are back learning again, that we remind ourselves, no, it's not about my personal interests. I came back to earth to cooperate with the whole and promote myself and promote the whole. So that helps us to gradually diminish the selfishness as well, that we may be focusing more on our personal level. Anybody else? Yeah? They have been around forever. Socrates and Plato already said that a person should act according to his conscience, practicing the virtues, choosing good and moving away from evil. Is Spiritism bringing something new to humanity? No, are the old teachings that even Plato, Socrates already brought, but is presented in a new format, isn't it? Okay, so what do we take from the last paragraph here? Person should act according to his conscience. What do we understand by that? Is that we need to do what we want to do? Yes or no? Why not?
Because to go our conscience is where is written God's law. So as she said before, is something that means with that. In our conscience is the law of God, what we should do and how we should do. And that's not easy for us to choose because we may be developing a habit of doing it irresponsibly, and it may be hard or difficult for us to choose what is right. So if we go within our conscience, we do what is right. But if we do go within our ego, then we do what is wrong.
Correct. So according to our conscience is to practice consciously or virtues. Yes, the virtues, the seeds of virtues that have been given by God since our creation. And now we are here not to do what we want, but to do what we should do according to our reincarnation process. And when we do that, we are practicing the virtues within. We are freely choosing to move away from evil. What do we understand is evil?
Our desires.
Would I be saying choosing good means when we are practicing the virtues, when we are doing what God's will is, are we choosing good? Yes. And if we choose to do what we want, which is not what God wants, are we practicing evil? Yes. But it's temporary. Because sooner or later, we will wake up spiritually and realize the need for us to also develop the goodness within. Because real happiness, as we saw previously, is the consequence of the spirit as immortal being as we are, to choose more and more, using the free will to do what God wants us to do. Is that okay? God's law, morals law. Do we know what God's laws are? Who is good in memory? What are God's laws? Sorry? Huh? To love, okay? Who understands, who heard about God's laws within Spiritism?
I think it's the first part of the third book of the Spirit's book talks about God's laws. It's the laws that keep the universe in order. It's the laws that we learn that controls matters and the physics, chemistry, but there's also the moral laws which helps us in our evolution process.
Do we know what are the moral laws?
He's saying it's the reproduction law, respect.
Help us, please, because people are shy here. Please help us. Tell, what are God's laws? Which one did you mention, Leo?
You can tell mommy.
You can speak. What are God's laws? Let's see if I'm right, Leon. I am right when I say worship? Right or wrong? Wrong? Is worship a God's law? Yes, yes. Then we have the law of conservation. What is that about? What is God's moral law of conservation about? What is the law of God worship about?
The law when we recognize that God is above everything.
God is the creator of everything and everyone.
And we express our gratitude or our feelings towards God when we worship.
And why is that important? For us to realize that we are creatures in relation to the Creator, and therefore, position where we are, we just have reasons to thank and be grateful for God for everything what He did already up to now for us, isn't it? And in that way, we also are developing our emotional level or love, yeah. And then we went on conservation. Cynthia, we're about to explain that. What is God's law regarding conservation?
I think about the first stages of evolution where we talk what about the instinct, what help us to keep alive,
Okay.
and the laws concerning the matter as well, our physical body.
Okay. Is that also given by God? The essence of conservation? Yes. And then we have the law of destruction. Oh my God, what's that about? Is that God's law?
Yes.
Why?
This is maybe read like transformation, perhaps.
Okay.
Better word.
Yes, we would say today is transformation. Because within God's law, everything is transforming constantly, even ourselves. If you look our version of 5 years ago, and we look now where we are. And so we carry on, everything transforms. The law of equality, what is that about?
We are all equal before God.
We are all equal in relation to, we have been created simple and ignorant by God, correct? So brotherhood, as we mentioned previously, is part of God's law. Because if we think we are better than others, that is our illusion. Because on earth today, we are all. Then we have the law of freedom that we just went through. The law of freedom is a moral law that is already the seeds within. But does it mean for us to do what we want? Are we free in that way? If I do what I want in the stage where I am free spiritually within the moral law? No, I will only be free if I choose to behave, to move according to God's laws. Then we learn to free ourselves from within. It's not from others, it's from us. Is that making sense? Then we have the law of progress, that we understand, because we are all progressing, isn't it? Then we have the law of reproduction. We have the example here, yeah? We have an example here, the moms around, yeah? Here, Cynthia, yeah? Then we have the law of society. What does that imply? Learning to relate with each other as brothers and sisters in humanity, developing self-love, love each other. And then we have the law of work. Oh, that is hard still for us when we think about, yet within God's laws, everything is working, moving. We need to develop the inner work in a loving way, understanding that everything that we do according to God's will is work. If I sit there one day, study all day because I'm preparing a lecture, I'm working for God. Okay? Then we have justice, love, and charity. So we have plenty to study about here, the laws, yes? It's just for us to situate as the moral laws that we all bring within. And through our journey of evolution, we are learning to interact with them with more wisdom. And therefore also gradually feeling freer because we expand the love within ourselves. Is that making sense? So we're coming to the end of our time today. And as always, we close our meeting with our prayer. In these final moments of our study, as brothers and sisters in humanity, ourselves and all of those in the spirit who are here with us, grant this possibility of reflections, of introspection. We express our gratitude for the immense wisdom that the natural laws present to every and each one of us. We also express our gratitude for this unique moment that we are gathering together as children of God who choose to learn about His laws. That we know we bring all within us, and we choose gradually and freely to accommodate our minds and hearts more and more about the essence of Jesus' teachings, which is based on love that comes from God. And in that way, we also give thanks for everything that we have in this existence. We also express our gratitude for what we don't have. We also express our gratitude for all the goodness that comes into our pathway. In the same way, we express our gratitude for what is not good that comes to us. And also gratitude for what bad is avoided in our lives. May we, through our hearts and minds, on a daily basis to learn to be more forgiving, more loving, more patient with ourselves and others, understanding deep within that we are all children of God. We are all loving beings, but yet imperfect, who are perfecting us. with our hearts full of gratitude, may we embrace ourselves and embrace everyone who is here psychically in a way of expressing or expanding the love within, and carry on having the initiative and motivation to carry on learning, reflecting, and developing the ability to think for ourselves within the natural laws of life. Blessings of Jesus' light, love and peace upon every and each one of us. We close our meeting today. So be it.